Okay, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. It is Tuesday the 20th, no, it'd be the 21st of January. Damn. I don't know where I got that one from.
Yeah, oh boy. Anyway, it's the 21st. That's a good reminder. That reminds me, I got a meeting tomorrow.
You got a meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well,
Kiwanis
just as well the snafu then. Just as well the snafu then.
Snafu?
In my thing, because if I hadn't noticed the date being wrong, you wouldn't have thought your board meeting.
Yes, we have the 20. Yeah, the 22nd. Yeah, 22nd.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got something on the 22nd as well. All right. Okay.
Alrighty.
So, welcome, Dave. Okay. So one thing we didn't cover yesterday is the integrity. Pardon me? One thing we didn't cover yesterday was the Integrity Commissioner dismissal of the complaint against Mike Strange.
Yeah, when I read the dismissal there, I think, does the Integrity Committee guy do anything? Like, he just says, or he or she just says, well, there's no evidence here. In this particular case, it was pretty clear that Mike Strange asked his friends to come in, and he was going to buy them beer if they supported him in city council. And the Integrity Commissioner just fluffs all that up. I'm not so sure that that's a good idea in this particular case. What do you think?
Well, Michael Maynard is the Integrity Commissioner, and so just that people know. And he dismissed the complaint late last year, early this year. Not entirely sure when. But the whole point about Strange buying beers for people, was that proven?
Oh yeah, he put it out there on his email. Come on out, support me. And if you come on and support me, I'll buy a beer.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so he's done that. And particularly when it was sort of trying to rally support for the case against the women that were protesting the fact that he was on council and having a domestic under his belt.
Yeah.
And that group insisted that, or were maintaining that counselor should not be there, in this case Mike, because of the domestic on him. We've discussed that at length.
And again,
like, is it better or is it worse for him to be on council when he has that kind of thing waiting on him?
Yeah, exactly. That is actually, we've had that discussion before, and there's been plenty of politicians who've bluffed it through in history, and there's been plenty of politicians who've stood down and come back.
So this is it. The complaint outlines that Strange breached several sections of the code by inviting members of the Falls View Hose Brigade, a volunteer service club to which Strange belongs, to attend a meeting just last July to crowd out members of the Women of Ontario Say No advocacy group and prevent them from addressing council and offering to buy them drinks if they attended. Now, to me, that sounds pretty damning. You have an advocacy group there that did not point out Strange specifically, and they had signs and things like that. They were there to protest in their members, and he's saying, look, I got this protest. It's happened before. because the ladies were there prior to that as well.
Mm.
And they were refused entry when they had their signs, remember? But they were going to come in without signs the next time. And he says, well, come on, boys, come on in and fill up the bleachers so that less of these women can get in. And if you do that, I'll buy a beer. Well, I don't know how obvious you got to be. But is it technically a breach of ethics?
Well, that's actually how Washington got into the House of Burgesses in Virginia. He realized that he lost on his first election when he first stood, and he realized the reason he lost is because he didn't buy beers for everybody,
which was standard practice back in those days.
It was. It's free beer for all the voters.
Yeah, that happened here too. That's one of the reasons why they shut the pubs down. Or they used, I don't know, they don't do it anymore, but they did shut down bars on election day.
Yeah,
for many years because they wanted to stop people from buying people as much beer as they could so they could send them to the polls, with a glow on to vote for their best buddy who's an axe murderer, but he buys me beer,
Yeah. So I the buying of a beer to get favors is probably technically wrong. But again, the fact that Strange promised it, does that mean he actually did?
Well, it doesn't matter. According to the integrity commissioner in this particular article, this guy says, well, these are friends of Strange's. They're friends. They belong to the same group. For him to offer them up beer is typical of what they do. So they hang around and have beers together as part of their own social process. So for him to say, come on out, guys, and support me and I'll buy you a beer, it's what he would have done in any other situation, whether he was there to support them or not for anything. He's going to go and buy them beers, or they're going to buy beer and they're going to hang out together and cajole. So he's saying these are his friends. He's asking his friends to go. There's nothing wrong with that. And he belongs to this group. And saying that he's going to buy them beers is not a bribe. It can't be assumed to be a bribe because these are his friends and he drinks beers with them all the time and he socializes with them all the time. And that's something they do. That's a kind of a tradition of theirs. So, or a cultural thing. So they cannot prove in this particular time he's going to get out, and he might get a few extra guys out thinking they're going to get a free beer, but it's not really going to be the prime motivation for these guys to be out there.
Yeah. But Women of Ontario Say No spokeswoman Emily McIntosh has criticized the decision of the Integrity Commissioner, saying that it created an environment of discomfort and intimidation, and that the commissioner's comments were dismissive.
Yeah, I believe there's a measure of truth to what she says there.
Yeah.
Everything that comes up before the commissioner, like he just kind of dismisses it out of hand. The level of proof is incredible. That you have to do. You pretty well have to be witnessed to be like, you almost have to be on film shooting a guy for this guy to say, oh, you shot him.
One of the problems I see about this is that many of these things, like the Integrity Commissioner may review tapes of the meeting and is probably going to review paperwork sent in by the parties and may actually ask, Jody Burdett, who put the complaint in the first place, to put in a complaint, who put in the complaint, will look at the paperwork of his complaint and will largely be looking at the film of the meeting, the paperwork, and probably hasn't even asked any of the witnesses. anything about this.
I don't know what he has or hasn't done, or what the limitations of his investigation are.
Yeah. Well, typically that is how they answer this. They look at the paperwork around it and the film around it.
So it's a very high level. I would say, if this in this particular case, where Mike has asked his buddies to come in and support him, to sort of counterbalance Women Say No advocacy group, and do that seriously as bringing his own people in, his own friends and stuff like that, and as a reward for that, getting some beer to do that. And then he also brought it up. He also brought up his case where he should not have brought it up, and talked about it. And partly it says that the mayor himself is the guy that's supposed to be controlling the conversation. So if whatever Mike Strange was saying at the time, he should have been reined in by the mayor. And because he wasn't, he was then permitted to carry on. I don't know what all the different, I'm trying to bring in all the different articles I've read about this, but in a sense, the level of is pretty high. It's a high threshold. I mean, to me, that was obvious. Come on in, guys, come and support me, with emails and stuff like that. Now, on the other hand, he could have gone around person to person and talked to them and said, hey guys, rather than put it in emails and stuff, come on out and help out here. Or his friends might just have had the idea themselves to do that. Yeah, come on out and let's go out and help Mike out, you know. So it's pretty hard to zero in on what actually motivated those guys to be there.
Okay, here's the thing. So a little bit of research. Basically, municipal integrity commissioners in Ontario do not hold hearings to make their decisions. Their investigations are private, paper-based, private, and conducted independently. Right? The ICs investigate privately, review documents, interview witnesses if needed, but then issue a written report to council. There is no hearing, no cross-examination, no trial-like process at all. And that actually is a thing that in a way bothers me, because we are used to evidence being tested in large part. But as soon as you if you're going to have a public hearing, that elongates the whole process, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's expensive enough. But however, is it effective? In this particular case, the Women Who Say No advocacy group aren't unhappy. They see that their point of view has not really been taken into consideration, the kind of intimidation they felt at that particular time, and felt that the commission has sort of diminished their concerns, which is not good. So almost everything the commissioner comes up with.
Actually, I wonder if I might make a suggestion. In order to make this more, there are times, and I get it, that at a certain point there's an issue about integrity commission. It's got to be held and dealt with quickly, because you've got to actually come to a decision within 6 months, because as we saw from Caroline Iannone, that can affect her right to earn a living.
Yep.
All right. Is it a case of what should happen is the Integrity Commission reports could be reviewable by the divisional court, by a judge?
I'm not so sure. I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, should they be reviewable? Right. They're not at the moment. And looking at this, when I just did a question about it with AI, there's a number of areas where there's been integrity commissioner reports where they've been controversial. Not just this one, but others in other towns.
Yeah, it seems to be that there's there's a limitation of the integrity commissioner, and it's weighted very heavily on the side of the defendant.
Yeah,
because of the level of proof is so high, and the technicalities behind that truth, so it's very, very, very clear that the Women Say No advocacy group were intimidated and thought that their concerns by the integrity commissioner were not taken seriously, and sort of overlooked, and that was essential to the understanding of what was going on at that time. And yet he just is the commissioner just puts it completely on technicality. Technically speaking, Strange's friends come in, they're his friends, so that's fine. Technically speaking, they have beer, so him enticing them with more beer, that's okay, because that's kind of like their tradition. So technically speaking, it wasn't. So I'm not so sure. Maybe it should go to a court or something of that kind, but that's an expensive process.
Yeah. If you think about this, they're independent investigators. They're not judges. Okay. So they're more like a police officer, and it's more like if you were hauled in because a police officer saw you do something, and it's the police investigation pursues, and then the police officer decides what to do with you, and after they can put you out, they can release you. They can release you, decide to do nothing further, give you a warning, a whole range of things, couldn't they? So the investigator is more like a police officer. The idea about that is that it reduces the cost. It avoids the expense of a tribunal-style process, and it remains confidential, protecting complainants and witnesses, etc. So but again, it's efficient because councils need to act quickly on misconduct. But how much misconduct is missed because they tend to be weighted for the council?
I don't know. So I don't know. It seems to be a very high bar anyway in order to crack the integrity commissioner here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I believe there's a lot of vexation and frivolous and vexatious words going around like that. I don't know. Sometimes I think that the integrity commissioner feels that there's that kind of thing going on, like vexation and irritability of whoever's watching it. But what we do here have is very clear that we have a counselor who is accused but not proven to have had a domestic where he's domestic incident where a woman got hurt, and it hasn't been proven that he's part of this, that he has been accused of it, but he's innocent until proven guilty. Let's face it. Now that all has to go through the court, and it's taking a long time, like court generally does. And he is Mike Strange is quite certain that he'll be exonerated. Of course, that's what he's going to say. And in the meantime, the women who say no are appalled that he is permitted to carry on having a domestic against him, where he's reportedly have struck a woman. And they feel intimidated. But then again, he hasn't been proven guilty, so they want him out of remove him. But I'm pretty sure that a counselor would pretty much have to be removed by his own self if the crime was bad enough. If you had if you were a cocaine dealer or something like that and you were busted, I'm not so sure you'd still keep sitting on council, although you had perfect right to do that. So I don't know. I don't know where is the lines of ethics. Mike Strange got elected. He was the number one person that got the most votes of anyone in Niagara Falls for being a counselor. And do you remove him when he's the people's choice for that job? Do you
Yeah,
remember
and
him
that's
until this
yeah.
legal thing is resolved? And we've seen how
And
long it's taken. He would have been over a year out of council. So
yeah,
how
and
does that serve the community?
yeah, and okay, so yes, he's the councillor with the most votes, and is very popular within the community. We know that. But let's take the spotlight off of Mike for a moment, and not making any accusations in relation to Mike. But for example, if a councillor had been accused of murder and was actually in prison, not serving a murder sentence, but waiting for a murder trial, which might take a year or two, he would be naturally out. He wouldn't be given any privileges to be able to attend a council meeting, so the council would have no choice but to get rid of it. Right? Get rid of that person.
You know what? If the guy is in jail awaiting trial and he can't get bail, that means it's a very serious offense.
Yes.
It's a very serious offense. And the reason why he isn't getting bail to get out is because he is felt to be a serious threat to the community. Now, the guy could be innocent, but it's not very likely in those cases. But that's a completely different thing. That's a very serious thing.
Yeah, he's seen as a danger to the community and therefore would have to be removed as a councillor.
Yeah, or at least somebody temporary fill in for him or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because at that point, the next one on the list would be a substitute councillor for a while.
It would have to be something like that, yeah.
And let's say that.
But we could go on and on and on about that. We could bring up example after example after example. But in this case, let's bring it right back down to what it is. It is a domestic, right?
Yeah.
He's beat up a woman. That is the accusation. He's saying he did not do it. Do you remove him from council for this? All right. And he's a man on the street. He is not being withheld of his liberties. The police do not think he is a threat to society as a whole, that it was an isolated incident. And if he has to pay the price for that, he will. But that has to come to court and be judged.
Yeah,
the women advocacy group says that they're very comfortable with a man who has is on council that is accused of beating a woman. They're very uncomfortable with that, and they believe that he should be removed until that is resolved. But then again, on the other hand, the people of Niagara Falls voted him in with the largest majority of any other councillor, and he is serving. And what service would it be to the community to remove him from his job for over a year until this is resolved? So those are the questions that confront us. And those have not been resolved by our discussion or anyone else's at this point.
And in my feeling on this is that had he been found guilty yesterday, then there's absolutely no issue. Remove him. It would be, even if he didn't serve it, even if he was found guilty and didn't serve a term, right? You'd have no choice but to remove him from the city.
Really? What does the law say? Does he have to leave if he's convicted of a crime?
Okay.
What kind of crime? Or what level? Fair. What if he gets what if he gets a Mike Strange is being famous for a couple of DWIs, right? Drinking while driving. He's had a couple of those court cases on us. So do you remove him for being drunk while driving? That's a danger to society, right?
Yeah.
So you get rid of him for doing that.
You raise a fair question. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. It is a difficult question for the council to actually answer, even if he'd have been found guilty yesterday.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're flogging this to death, and we're not going to go anywhere with this at all, because it's just one continuous. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? So we have to leave this to the court, and we're going to have to leave it to council to come up with it. In this particular case, though, are the women right? Are they intimidated? And is it wrong to have somebody who has committed I could see if it was a cocaine dealer or something and he was removed, or a murderer or something like this, but a crime at this level that has not yet been proven. And it is a domestic. And what then do you do? And the advocacy group has one opinion, the law has another, and we can't make any of these decisions on ourselves. And the whole idea that Mike Strange then tried to fix the meeting, make sure that he didn't get a whole lot of women protesting him by bringing his buddies in to back him up. I think that's the issue before us on this particular article. And it is pretty much unresolved for most of us at this particular time. We don't like that he did it, but on the other hand, it's not against the law, evidently, or
allegedly.
According to the ethical commissioner, or whoever the guy is, integrity commissioner.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to have to move on, I guess.
Oh, I would just like to say one thing. I didn't put it in the today, but I recommend that everybody go and see what Mark Carney said at Davos the other day. He made a really excellent speech, and we'll bring that up. We'll bring it up tomorrow, I guess. But
yeah, I think so.
He made a superb speech. It's kind of chilling, actually. I've never heard a politician speak that truthfully, that clearly, to anyone, really. It was no holds barred, but at the same time, constrained and objective. So I would say if you haven't heard Mark Carney's speech at Davos, now's the time to see it.
I've heard about it. I haven't heard the speech. No.
Superb speech.
If we can get a text of it, that would be good because we can analyze it then.
Well, it's all on it. It wasn't a very long one, but it's very effective.
Okay. Russia's gloating over Greenland tensions and saying that Europe is completely at a loss on this.
I don't know why Europe is so out of it. Europe seems to be so spineless and weak, and you could see that when Donald Trump and his administration came, they started yelling and screaming at him and pushing their fist in their face. They acquiesced, they groveled, they called him daddy. And then all of a sudden they seem to be so out of sorts because Donald Trump wants to conquer Greenland. And he's demanding it from the Europeans. And I don't know why they're so surprised. I mean, he's done this over and over again. So I don't know. I really don't understand the basis of this whole idea that the Europeans are so thrown back by Donald Trump's efforts to get Greenland when he has proposed that over and over from the very beginning of his first part of his first administration back before 2020. He's been doing this, demanding that Greenland sell him Denmark sell him Greenland and things of that kind. What he wants to do basically is the Russians here are having a field day. Now, the whole proposal from the U.S. is that the Russian ships are all over the place in Greenland. We have to protect ourselves against Russia up in Greenland, and the Danes are not capable of it, despite the fact that they're part of NATO, despite the fact that the U.S. has as many bases there as they want. At one time, they had 10,000 people in Greenland and withdrew them. How could they feel threats from Russia if they withdrew more than 90% of the people that are there?
And actually, European Union has more troops than America in Greenland right now.
At this particular point. So they're trying to demonstrate that NATO can easily protect Greenland. Now, Greenland is really not that vulnerable to the Chinese or to the Russians.
And that's why the Russians, I think, are laughing at the Europeans.
Yeah, and the Russians are goading Trump. They know the get to his ego. they're saying, oh, Trump's really smart about Greenland. Yes, he's right about Greenland. Meanwhile, they're the ones that Greenland is there to protect against. The Americans say, oh, we got to protect it against Russia. And Russia's saying, oh, yeah, America should have Greenland. He's right. Donald Trump is a really visionary leader. If he gets Greenland, the United States will be the second largest country next to ours. That would make it great. He'll go down in history. He'll be a great hero and be written about in history for years to come. What a man. And so they're goading him along, trying to divide the alliance between NATO, between Donald Trump, the administration of the U.S. under Trump, and NATO. They love it. They love it. They love that this is happening. They love that Trump is turning his back on the NATO alliances. So it is a bizarre. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Trump says we need Greenland to protect ourselves against Russia, and Russia saying, yes, you're right. Yes, you need Greenland. You need Greenland. Yes, you would be a great and fabulous hero for your country if you acquired Greenland. You are so right. You need to acquire Greenland to protect yourself against us.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up, I swear.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes, take Greenland. You must have Greenland to protect yourself against us.
Yeah.
And you'll be a wonderful, great leader written about in stories.
But again, here's the thing, of course, is that we know that when it comes down to it, while everybody else may be kissing Trump's ring, Trump is kissing Putin's ring.
Not quite as well. They're trying to get him back in favor. They know what massive ego he has.
Yeah.
They know how much he loves to be heard, to be the hero. He wants to have a Nobel Peace Prize. The very first thing he did, he asked for when he walked into his office, is he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. And that's before he supposedly stopped 8 wars. And of course, that is all disputed. And basically, his nose is really out of joint. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to be a hero of the world. Now he wants to be a hero of his nation. He wants to conquer Greenland. Like, his ego is huge, and the Russians know that. The Russians keep digging. And every time they come to a table and start negotiating, that's the first thing they start doing is talk about Trump and how wonderful and great he is and what a great man he is and how huge he is and all that. And then he acquiesces to them.
Yeah. But again, at the end of the day, there is a peace deal on the table in Gaza. Whatever you might think about that peace deal, there's a peace deal on the table in Gaza that was brokered by Donald Trump. And surely because of that, he'd be up for the next Nobel Peace Prize anyway.
Yeah, if it was successful. It was successful, like the Nobel Committee might think, do we give him an award just to maybe promote peace? Because the way he's going might cause a war. And if he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, we'll give him one. I mean, there's been lots of questionable people getting peace prizes. Yeah. You could say that. It's bizarre that Machado gave hers to him.
It's bizarre that she even got that peace prize. What the heck?
She earned it for a lot of work trying to bring democracy to an authoritarian country like Venezuela. But when she saw that there was an opportunity, she saw the ego of Donald Trump too, and figured she sees how everybody else gets him to do stuff for them by stroking his ego. She quickly found out that that's the best thing to do here. Hey, you really deserve this. Hey, here's the award. And maybe Donald Trump will help put her into office in Venezuela. That hasn't worked out for her, has it, though?
No, not yet. All right. So I think that, I think that Putin's laughing at Europe won't change anything. I think Europe is basically still still playing heavy-handed and will still play heavy-handed over Greenland. Europe has got the bit between their teeth about Greenland.
I'm not so sure about that. They've got that guy that called Trump the Big Daddy and kind of just obsequiously fawned over him. Oh, you are our Big Daddy. He's the guy that's talking to Trump. I don't think Europe's got the spine. I really don't think so. I think they're going to wave the paper up in the air, peace in our time kind of thing, and hand over Greenland, just like the French and the Brits did to Sudetenland. They handed over Czechoslovakia to Hitler, and I think they're going to backstab Denmark. I'm not so sure about it, but they'll come with some kind of compromise that make it look as if they didn't really do it but did it, because they've got no spine. You can tell by the way they negotiated with Trump over the tariff deal. They got no backbone. The only two countries that had any backbone were Canada and China. They're the only ones that fought back. I mean, China is big enough to fight back and win, which they did.
Yeah,
we're not big enough to win, but we showed a little muscle anyway. And I'm not so sure Europe has a spine. I think they're going to fold, but I hope they don't. I hope they don't. But they seem to be kind of weak to me. And all the things that they've done with Ukraine and all the things they've done with their tariffs, but they seem to be growing a spine, and we'll see. But the big thing to me is if the Republican representatives can grow a spine, that'll be a big deal. And if there is even some Republicans saying that Donald Trump should be impeached for doing this particular thing against Greenland, and there are others saying that his mind has to be examined because he's showing signs. His old spokesperson, his previous spokesperson, press secretary, has said that she says that he's out of his mind. There's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
Other doctors have said the same, so that may be a solution.
Okay, Chris Simone is asking a question. Did you say he stopped 8 wars? No, Dave didn't say he stopped 8 wars. Donald Trump said he stopped 8 wars.
Yes. He said he's stopped 8 wars. What he's talking about there is the ordinary diplomacy of the United States or other great powers in areas where there's been fighting, where they just go in and try to sort of mediate between the warring parties. Very typical diplomatic stuff, but Trump has claimed that he stopped these 8 wars. It's not true. It's not true. If you look into these conflicts, they're ongoing conflicts, and they spark up from time to time, like the Cambodia-Thailand war, that fraction, the Pakistan-India one. Pakistan, knowing they could get things from Trump by saying that he's a hero, told the world that Trump stopped the war between them and India that was last year. And India said, no way did he do that. But Pakistan, thinking they could get something from Trump, said he was a hero and stopped the war.
Yeah. That's the heaviest guarded border in the world, right? That India-Pakistan is the heaviest guarded border in the world. The skirmishes all the time, absolutely all the time. Okay, Karen asked the question, how much time does Trump have left in office?
3 long years.
She's not talking about the 3 years. She's talking about other things, I suspect. All right, moving.
He does sound like he goes from sounding, level-headed to being utterly bizarre, like blaming the Nobel, the fact that he didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize on the Norwegian government. The Norwegian government has nothing to do with the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's saying he's insisting they do. It's a Nobel committee. The committee itself is the one that does it. It's like blaming the Academy, the U.S. Academy Awards for it's like Macron blaming Trump for a French film that didn't win the Oscar.
Yeah.
And Trump would say to him, well, it has nothing to do with me. It is the Academy. And then Macron says, oh, don't tell me you didn't have anything to do with it. That's what Trump is doing to Norway right now.
Yep.
He has, yeah. He just likes to accuse people of it. I don't know. This guy is bizarre. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on and coming back local, Seneca Queen Theatre is to return as a downtown Niagara Falls concert hall.
Yes. It sounds really good. There's a lot of money being put into the old Seneca Theatre now, and it's going to be a venue that will seat 1,000 people, which surprised me. I thought that was quite a bit.
I didn't think that would be possible, to be quite honest. I was shocked by that as well. Right? 1,000 people in that space? I
don't know how he's doing it.
500, I can't see 1,000.
No, I can't see 1,000 either. But he says that but according to the article, it says the Seneca Theatre needed a lot of work, and it has to be safe. Of course, if you got 1,000 people in there, if there's a fire or any kind of emergency, you got to get them out of there.
Yeah,
you got to have the ability to get them out, 1,000 people out, and do it quick and safely. I think that was probably a big part of the renovations. Needed a brand new roof. The walls had problems. Of course, all the electronics and stuff they have to install for a theater venue of 1,000.
He's doing a $3 million update to this building.
Yeah, and the thing he says it's $1,000 person venue, and I'm saying, where are they going to park?
Yeah,
where are 700? Like if you got a venue, 1,000, and you got an event, you're going to have upwards of 700 cars you're going to have to park. At least 500 if you think 2 people to a car. Yeah, so you're going to have 500 cars descending on downtown Niagara Falls. Where are they going to park?
I think the 700 is more correct, Dave, because it's like, I might take my wife along to it, but you are a single person, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would just take my own car. So you have to anticipate. I would think the minimum you'd have to anticipate for 700 cars. You might only get 500, but the whole problem is let's say you only have 500 cars coming in. Where are you going to put 500 cars? Yeah,
good question. Not one I'd even thought.
They're not going to fit up and down the street, are they?
No,
they're not going to fit up and down the street, are they?
No, certainly not. You might get 100 cars up and down Queen Street, another 100 on the associated streets, but 700 cars is tough to get in down there.
Yeah. Where are they going to park?
In the future, when there's new buildings going up and there's new residential properties going up, as well as new commercial properties going up, the parking that you have right now is going to be squeezed.
Yes, and there's a couple of little lots there on Huron, but I don't know. I don't know. I seriously don't understand the parking situation there. I like the fact that they're making reinventing the venue and making it a great place to be. I love that fact. And even when they had concerts there prior to COVID, I thought it was a great place to go watch an act. And I thought it was really good. And then of course, I was really disappointed that it closed up, and I could see how COVID affected it.
There was a Toastmasters event in there one time.
There was. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it was before you joined.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But I
never heard of it.
That was the only reason I'd been in there, was this Toastmasters event that was there. I went there for something else, but it was such a long time ago. And you're right; it's a pity that it did close during COVID. It was one of those COVID, COVID impacted closures. But I'm glad somebody's actually going to be reopening it. Not so sure about the parking, as you say. It was always problematic anyway before.
Yeah. So that's my takeaway. I had like a double-edged sword kind of thing. Beautiful, wonderful, great. Where's everyone going to park?
But are we
so I
talking
kind of
about
try to imagine myself going down there trying to find a parking spot to enjoy the venue.
See, I can't see a major act, let's say somebody like Phil Collins coming along and showing up at the Seneca Queen Theatre. I can see them, whereas I can see them going to the Fallsview, the 5,000 seater in Fallsview.
Well, this is actually going to be a niche. It's going to be good to get 1,000 people in there. You're going to find some really fine acts going in there. Remember, there's lots and lots of really good musicians, actors, everything out there. And they're not all super famous, but a lot of them are just as good entertainers as anyone.
I know.
And it says here, like it goes on, and the mayor says it's historic. It's coming at a right time when Thorlstone Road is opened up, going to be opening up, and the more GO trains and all this other stuff is going to be happening. And I still say the same thing. Nobody here talked about parking.
Yeah.
No, not I think I don't understand why the reporter didn't tweak. He talks about how great the Toronto venue that this particular guy has recreated, and bringing in the Foo Fighters, Green Day, and all that kind of stuff. It was talked about it supposed to be opening up in March, but can't because they found too many things wrong with it. Talks about GO trains and all that. It does not talk 1 minute here about parking. And you would think that would be one of the things that the reporter would have asked. Where are these 1,000 people going to park?
But you see, of course, downtown Toronto, they've got a lot more public transit. They've got trams, they've got buses, they've got they've got the subway, etc. That makes that whole area much more accessible. I don't know where his venue is in Toronto, but Toronto's got way more public transit than we have, and in fact, there's a lot of people in Toronto that do not even own a car.
Yeah, but the fact is, there's also all kinds of parking spots in Toronto for these things. Yes, so there's usually parking areas close to the venues, the main venues, and you can be directed to them by your phone or anything else. If you're going to come to the such and such theater downtown, these are the places you can park.
But again,
and they're close by. And but where are you going to park in Niagara Falls?
Yeah, but again, probably if you're talking about people driving to a venue in Toronto, probably only about 25 to 30% of people are driving to that venue. Well, the rest are going by public transit. Whereas here, people who are coming to any such venue, probably 90% of them are coming by by their own car.
Well, I'm not so sure you're right about that. When I used to go to some of those venues, I would drive to, let's say, a subway station, park it there, and then come in the rest of the way on a subway. That's I've done that a number of times.
Okay.
Because some of the subway stations have.
You don't have the parking at the venue. You have the parking somewhere else, like a subway station. If you're going to an evening venue, you're taking a slot that a daytime commuter has just vacated.
Yeah. See, it says here. It says the reason it's taking so long to finish this place is in bad shape, said Alinus, who is the guy who bought it. When reached Monday, we're doing changes, very heavy live systems. We've got to upgrade. We've got to make sure the place is safe. It's for 1,000 people capacity.
Yeah.
And yet nowhere does it say anything about parking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
All right.
the
Yep.
so the reporter, I guess, didn't think of asking that, but I think it should have been asked. That's John Law. Of course, he's the entertainment guy. So, of course, he's probably more interested in the arts parts of it. But so the practical part, where do you park? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
what else
Okay.
we got? We kind of flogged that to death.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the next item we've got, let me just go through these and put these ones up on the screen. The space is wrong today in today's world. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Seneca balcony also has to be reinforced. Okay. I'm presuming he's taken that into consideration. I wondered about that myself.
1,000
Where's
people.
the
They
ghost,
must have one hell of a
where's the
balcony.
ghost station in Niagara Falls? It's near Queen Street, of course, and you can walk from the go to that venue. All right.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then let's move on. Car buzz. Basically, there's an opinion in car buzz that's saying that Canada and China could do serious harm to the U.S. automotive industry.
I'm not so sure I follow that. I agree with that particular opinion. I mean, it seems to me that it's kind of an opinion that's out there, just as kind of a speculative thing. If Canada and China could do serious harm to USA's auto industry, well, they could. At this particular incident, right now, the auto industry in the United States sells more cars to Canada than it does to everyone else in the world combined.
Yeah.
More, way more, just to Canada. So Canada is one of its number one destinations of its cars, its automotives, which makes it kind of very unsettling that they don't want any part of that car to be built in Canada. They want to hog it all to themselves and then sell it to us. What Carney has done with China, bringing some China EVs in, he's made it very clear that we have alternatives to American cars.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to partner with us, we'll have to partner with somebody else. So I would say to the American unions down there, who want of course they do, they want all the jobs in the United States. Do they realize how many cars that Canada buys? It's a nation of 40 million people. It buys an incredible amount of cars from the United States.
Yep.
And then you're saying, okay, all those components that are made in Canada, we don't want any of them. They got to be made here. That just says that to Canada saying, well, we'll do the same thing. We may be not able to do it as fast, but we'll say, well, we don't want American cars here. We'll put the same sort of tariffs on them, and we'll partner with China instead. So this particular article is speculative. I mean, it's a
Very
long way
speculative,
off,
absolutely. But given what we've been recently talking about with cars, that's why I put it up.
Yeah, and it begins. It's a very good article because it begins with 100 years ago, Ford was the most dominant automotive brand in the world, thanks to the Model T. And of course, the Model T Ford dominated the market for decades. But then it was GM, and actually Ford. I didn't know this. He looked at a meat packing plant and decided that was how he was going to set up his assembly plant. So it was the first mass-produced car.
I knew that because he had looked at the modern production line, modern as it was in 1910, early 1900s, and decided that was the best way to build a car. He'd looked at many, not just meat packing plants, but canneries and the like.
Well, yeah, I thought, I thought he would have got more of his inspiration from like Colt firearms, because they set up an assembly line system where they built the parts exactly the same each time. so that you didn't have to have a highly skilled gunsmith to make a gun. They had a process, a machining process, which they beginning to end, where every gun was completely the same, and any gun could have interchangeable parts. And before that, it was gunsmiths made guns. In this particular case, crews made a car, but Ford figured out how to do it in mass production. So that, anyway, it started that way. The article starts that way by showing the dominance of Ford and how his little empire kind of crumbled, and he had to share that empire with GM and other kind of cars along the way. And they had other ideas that intruded into his market space. And Ford Motor Company still a huge deal, but it's not the biggest. GM was bigger than them, and Dodge was always a rival. And now, which is now Stellantis, but now you come along and they're saying that the American domination of the car in North America its time has possibly come, because every empire, whether it's Henry Ford's Model T empire or the U.S. automotive industry as a whole's empire, may be crumbling. It may be the first signs that the automotive industry cannot sustain itself, cannot keep outside competition. Will the United States do as Canada is doing, sort of inviting China to start thinking about manufacturing cars in Canada? Will the U.S. accept that? The U.S. is shooting itself in the foot, if you're asking me, when they're saying, we sell you, Canada, lots and lots of cars, but we don't want you to make any part of the car. Ford, when you buy a Ford Motor Company, Ford truck, it's supposed to be 80% made in the United States. And so we buy it. 20%, 10% might come from Canada, and 10% come from Mexico. What the American administration is saying, that's not good enough. We want it 100% made in the U.S., and then Canada can buy it.
Again, what he's moving to by doing that is Canadian cars are made in Canada, American cars are made in America, and Mexican cars are made in Mexico.
Well, the whole idea of the Auto Pact back in the 60s was to avoid all that difficulty, and consider Canada and the U.S. as the same thing. And then later on, the free trade deals sort of fashioned themselves around what the Auto Pact had accomplished.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, the unions and the car companies, I don't know about the car companies themselves, but the unions and the government want more and more cars. They have demanded that more cars be built in the United States and more components be built in them. Are they then shooting themselves in the foot? That's my opinion here. Because the U.S. car dominates our markets already, you are forcing Mexico, and you're forcing, with Canada is much more of this than Mexico is, because they didn't make too many cars. Well, they did make cars in Mexico for the Mexican market, but Canada was the big thing. It was an equal market, the regional market, as any other regional market in the United States. And when you are selling most of your cars that you export, you don't export many American cars anywhere else in the world, but reams of them to Canada. And then you're saying, well, we don't want your input. That Ford truck that you like to buy, we don't want 10% Canadian content. No. We only want no percentage.
Yeah, again, there's an article out there that you put up there, which is undated USMCA agreement will require more US car manufacturing. So it's basically getting rid of all the foreign components, like you've just been saying.
Yes, and I am like, of course, the unions and everything like that in the States will be saying, "Oh, that's great, we'll get everything." We'll build them all. We don't need cars built in Canada. We don't need them built in the United parts from Mexico. We could do it all here. And of course, the unions are going to say that. That's more work for them. That's more membership in their unions. But are they really thinking it out well enough? Because if you start doing that kind of thing and we start shutting the door to U.S. cars coming in, unless we make them here, because there's a tariff on them, what is the point? We have this integrated system, and if it's prosperous, then more cars will be built and more people will be hired. But if you start shutting the door on imports of car parts and making it making your market, which is Canada, your major export market, Canada, resistant to buying your stuff, I'll buy a Honda or a Toyota any day before I buy a Ford or a GM now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm having trouble at my end. I can't see anybody. I've got frozen screens.
Oh.
All right. I can hear you, but I've got frozen screens, and it's weird.
Yeah, you're frozen here too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to see if there's something I can do to reignite this, but you keep going.
Well, it's 8:01 now, so we have to pretty much draw a conclusion to this.
Well, and, when I can't close it, this is what bothers me.
You can't close it.
I can't end it because I've got no access to anything at all on.
You can't even shut down.
I can shut down individual things. I can shut down individual things, but I cannot seemingly kill off. I can't seemingly kill off. I've shut down two edge screens. Two entire edge processes now, but I can do nothing else with StreamYard. Okay, that's. Okay, there we go. We can deal with it now. It looks like I've got access back.
Okay.
Even though you're not seeing me.
No, I'm not seeing you. Any case, we've pretty well come to an end, and I'd just like to bring up Gaza like I do every day. Also, Ukraine. I guess the death toll in Ukraine is incredible. They're using up as many Chechens and other groups, ethnic groups in Russia, to do this war. I don't know what they're promising and what they're paying them. But the death toll, the Russian death toll is at least the casualties, I think, is at least 1 million. And I think 250,000 at least are dead. That's incredible. The steep keep going. There's got to be a better solution to this. I really am really disappointed at world leaders for letting that happen, but more and more I am disappointed in the Western leaders with Gaza and how they let that get out of hand. 70,000 people dying, about 25,000 of them kids, not to mention about 100,000 kids with missing eyes, arms, burns, and traumatized. And those children have to go to school, they have to be fed, nobody's talking about them. Why not? The only ones that are talking about them are the aid groups and that, but the governments aren't. Like Trump and his Board of Peace and everyone else, that Europe, whatever. What about the kids? What about the children? What about the average mom and dad trying to get their feet back on the ground? They're digging in the rubble trying to find family members, because most of the bombs have stopped now. Not all, but most of the bombs have stopped. So they can start digging in the rubble and finding their loved ones that are lost in the rubble. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. The whole thing was heartbreaking. And 70,000 people, some nut by the name of Yair Sinmar attacks, breaches what's supposed to be the most secure fence ever, and gets into Israel, kills 800 civilians, another 300 or 400 army officers, runs away with some some hostages, and to pay for that 1,200 people or 1,100 or 1,200, what it is, they kill 70,000. Something's really wrong with that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think we kind of better wrap it up.
All right. Without further ado, I bid you do pray for peace, everyone, and have as good a day, a freezy cold day, by the way. I don't know how cold it's going to be, but this week's going to be really chilly. I'm telling you. I looked at the forecast.
Supposed to. One forecast I saw yesterday said it was going to warm up today. I don't know how much.
Not for the rest of the week. I think it goes up to 0 today, maybe up to 0. But I'll take a quick look at it. It's -9 now, and it's going to go up to it's going to go up to 0. Oh, it's going to be absolutely balmy. Wow, I get my shorts weather,
You better get your shorts out, especially if the sun comes out, right?
But this is what's happening. Okay, so Thursday's not too bad. It's -2 is going to be the high. But here we go with Friday. -9 is going to be the high. -18, woohoo, is going to be the low. Saturday, -13, -15. Sunday, -11, -14. And Monday, -10, -14. We are looking at one chilly week, and it goes on from there. So we are looking at one chilly week.
Yep. Okay.
So put on your long undies, everyone.
Yeah, well, you've got to put your woolly undies on and woolly jumpers as well.
Let's put it this way. A lot of people, like my buddy came over last night, and he just threw on his ordinary fall jacket and jumped in his car and come over, and he was frozen to death by the time he's only a few blocks away from me, right? It takes him like 3 minutes to drive here from his place, 5 minutes max.
His car doesn't warm up in the meanwhile.
Yeah, so he gets over here, and he's surprised how cold he is, right?
Yeah,
and I said,
because his car hasn't warmed. Yeah, his car hasn't warmed up. That's why.
Well, no, because it's cold. Because he does this all the time. So he does it all the time. He comes over, but he never complains about being cold. Last night he walks in and he's frozen, right? Because it's way colder.
Yeah. All right. Well,
so
stay safe.
I mentioned that because if you're going out, do not forget how cold it is, because you might get stuck.
Absolutely.
And you might have to get out of your car, and then you've got no gloves, or your coat's too thin, and you're going to freeze. So remember how cold it is and dress appropriately.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu.